NATO scrambles jets, more specifically Poland scrambled their F-16s, and Taiwan is preparing to defend the island is the main headline today. So we'll begin with the sort of conflict with the what's happening with Ukraine, Russia, which is just seems to be getting worse and worse and worse. It is just no end in sight. And I want to go over a couple of the articles on this today, because there was just a massive attack overnight then. And this is why Poland is getting quite concerned, and they're starting to do a lot more in terms of their bolstering their military. So as the attack was unfolding, the military of Poland said that the Ukrainian, Polish and Allied aviation has begun operating in the airspace. So this is it's really escalating here. In accordance with applicable procedures, all available forces and resources at the disposal of the operational command of the Polish armed forces have been activated. Duty fighter pairs have been scrambled, and ground-based air defense and radar recon systems have reached the highest state of readiness. The measures taken are aimed at ensuring security in areas bordering the threatened regions. So what was all of this over then? Well, it was over the bombardment that happened earlier this morning. It later added, due to the reduced level of threat from missile strikes. So these were the I believe these are the Iranian missiles that they're talking about here, by Russian aviation on Ukrainian territory. The operations of Polish and Allied aviation have concluded, they said, and they've gone back. So this was the F-16s that were in use then. Let's just go on to the... Okay, this is the reason behind it all. It was 728 drones. This is probably one of the biggest strikes, I think, of the war so far. This was early on Wednesday then, so early this morning. This was hours after President Trump pledged to send more defensive weapons to Kyiv and aimed unusually sharp criticism at Russian President Putin. So this attack was the latest in a series of escalating air assaults in recent weeks that have involved hundreds of drones in addition to ballistic missiles. And if you look at what they intercepted and what they didn't, it was the ballistic missiles that they weren't able to intercept again, straining Ukrainian air defenses at a perilous moment in the war. So we'll just go on to the next line. We'll speak on this for a moment. Kyiv's military down almost all the drones, but some of the 6 hypersonic missiles launched by Russia had caused what they're calling unspecified damage. So Trump said on Tuesday he was considering supporting a bill that would impose steep sanctions on Russia as well, including 500% tariffs on nations that buy Russian oil, gas, uranium and other exports. We get a lot of BS thrown at us by Putin, he said. He's very nice all the time, but it turns out to be meaningless. So I think he's finally realizing that there's a reason Putin was head of the intelligence services and how he got into power. This is he's a master at managing all this stuff. When asked by a reporter what action he would take against Putin, Trump said, "I wouldn't tell you. We want to have a little surprise." Separately, Europe is working on a new sanctions package against Moscow at the moment. So these rounds of talks between Russia and Ukraine have so far borne little fruit. Okay, I know what I was going to say. Okay, it's come back to me now. So the reason that you're seeing that these talks are not, really going anywhere, Putin saying one thing, then doing another, saying, yeah, okay, we'll look at these peace talks, and then launches 700 plus drones plus ballistic missiles, is because this is just simply warfare, the art of war. You can read the utility of force. You can read any book on this. Russia is winning, regardless of what the media says and the propaganda. and you've seen this since the beginning, Russia is winning, and they're winning heavily. They're taking more ground. So that's why Putin isn't backing off. That's why he isn't, really rushing into these peace talks and he's stalling, because they are winning the conflict and they're taking more ground. So, and they're also seeing now that the US has backed off, as well as a couple of other countries have followed the US lead. So if they've backed off, what has he really got to fear? Europe has already said, including the European commanders, have said they're years away from amassing a large enough force where they'd feel confident in taking on Russia and the axis of evil, as they call Russia's allies. So that's China, Iran, North Korea predominantly. So that's really the background behind that. It's a little bit different from what you're seeing on the media here. So Poland scrambled their jets then. Part of Russia's overnight strike was aimed at the western region close to Poland's border, although it's 125 miles away. Polish and Allied aircraft, so it wasn't just Polish aircraft, there was some other Allied aircraft involved, were activated. They're actually patrolling the airspace at the time. And let's go on to, before we talk about the US Patriot missiles and everything else around that then, let's just look at what Taiwan has just launched today. They've launched their biggest war game ever with simulated attacks against military command. So they're really ramping this up. And this is in line with this 2027 sort of deadline that they are expecting them. And we've talked about this deadline before, the 2027 deadline. And that is when most military analysts, if you look at all the reports, they're kind of all lined up at the same time, is when they believe that China will sort of take over the island. And again, you look at it from both sides. China doesn't see it as an invasion or a takeover. They see it that Taiwan belongs to them anyway. So they don't like the fact that the US interests over Taiwan. They don't like that at all. From the Western side, Taiwan is a very strategic ally and island, not just for military purposes, but also for the semiconductors. And that's why I said back in 2021, give it a few years, and we're sort of there now, that they would bring over, so Taiwan semiconductor manufacturing and all the others, they'd start bringing it over to the US, because then the US can really sort of, they've got it there, they can defend it there. They can't defend it as well in Taiwan. And remember that a lot of the US military equipment uses these advanced chips. Taiwan is way ahead. They've got the most advanced chips. So this is why you're seeing them moving their manufacturing, or at least setting up additional manufacturing in the US. At that point, do you think the US is really going to care as much about defending Taiwan? Maybe, maybe not. But when you look at all the reports and things about how Taiwan feels confident they could repel and defend and all this, I don't know what reports they're seeing, but have you seen the size of the Chinese military? So they've just launched their largest ever military drills today, and this is all simulating attacks on the island. And they said that they're focused on testing how Taiwan's military can decentralize command in the event of a crippling communications attack. I would say more likely it's going to be a cyber attack. So over the next 10 days, the drills will expand to assess their combat readiness against a full-scale attempt to seize the island. They said they're learning from the situation in Ukraine about what they might face. Well, yeah, maybe. You see, what's going on in Ukraine as well is you've seen this massive testing of weapons. You remember we talked right at the start of the conflict that this would be what I believe would be the first time we'd see the drone warfare. You'd see all the autonomous weapons. And I also said we'd see AI by the end of it. So it was autonomous drones and then finally an AI command. So we haven't actually seen the AI command. Maybe I was a little bit too ahead with that sort of thought. Some of my thoughts are a little bit, too far in the future, I guess. But I do still think we'll see that. We'll see an AI military command structure which will take over from the generals, because it's going to become so advanced that it will have more knowledge and more experience than any general in the world. So I don't think we've seen that part yet, but I do think we're going to see that eventually. Before we come on to all the Patriot stuff, which is quite interesting, I don't know if you're following gold at the moment. We'll just do a quick segue here. But Tether is now holding $8 billion in gold in a secret Swiss vault. This just came out yesterday, which I was very surprised by because I wasn't aware that Tether was holding this much gold. It seems as though everyone is ramping up their gold holdings at the moment. We've never seen so much gold being held by central banks. Gold is up still massively, double digits on the year. So Tether by the way, is a crypto. It's for one US dollars. And they're now holding $8 billion of gold. This is very, very interesting strategy from a crypto company. They've got 80 tons, they said. The vast majority is owned by Tether directly, making it now one of the largest gold holders in the world, outside of banks and nation states. They've also said that this was the other thing. So UBS Group, huge group here, UBS Group, is on par now with how much they hold. They hold the same with UBS. And we've just seen all of these articles coming out in the last 24 hours on gold. Royal Gold agrees acquisitions worth $3.7 billion as record prices drive deals. Now you might say, Neil, what is the link here? How are you linking this with the military stuff going on? And I'll tell you why. It's because what we're seeing is a perfect playbook example of this deterioration that we talked about way back in 2020 that would sort of go through to 2030. And we're seeing this playing out in real time now. We've seen the military conflict. So we saw the sort of financial issues with all the new currency creation, new quantitative easing. We saw the military stuff, which hasn't gone away. It hasn't. A lot of people thought Russia-Ukraine would be over by now. I certainly thought we'd be coming to the end stages, but it's still ongoing. We saw the other one, which was Israel-Iran. I mean, anybody could see that coming again. Not quite as severe as the sort of 1970s conflict that we saw, but still, that hasn't gone away. We've seen all the proxy groups. And we haven't yet seen China-Taiwan issue take place. There's going to be a lot more conflicts before the end of this. And what happens, you always see gold begin to spike in these periods of geo instability. And that's what we're seeing at the moment. We're seeing this breakdown. And that's where gold shines. It sort of takes the place here. But I'm not convinced this is going to be the same as a lot of the previous times. I don't think we're just going to see a massive spike up and then this massive drop down. We haven't even seen the big move from silver yet that we talked about. Yeah, it's moved, 10% since I said I think we're going to see a move. But we haven't really seen it. We're still seeing the lagging effect at the moment with silver and gold. And I want to go back to this article a moment. Mining royalty company Royal Gold has agreed 2 acquisitions. This is worth $3.7 billion. They also said they bought another company as well. Okay, Sandstorm Gold as well in $3.5 billion. I think Sandstorm are streamers. I have to confirm that, but I believe they're streamers. Also acquire Horizon Copper, $196 million in cash. There's just non-stop articles. Here's another one. Gold ETFs drew largest inflow in 5 years during the first half of 2025. That's the WGC, which is the World Gold Council. So what we're seeing now is absolute textbook that I was talking about a little while back. So remember, I've released the gold and silver course, and this is textbook with what we're seeing now, because you start to see all of these inflows at the period when you start to see the breakdown, especially as the currency starts to sort of inflate away. And that's what we've seen, 10.8% reduction this year in the US dollar. We've seen a lot more currency creation around the world. We are in the final stages of these fiat currencies. It's just how long does the final stage take? That is the $1 million question that I can't answer for you. But this is what we're seeing now. And you kind of see this point where, and we're at the early stages, where eventually when you see headlines 24/7 about gold, that's when you're seeing all the retail investors rushing in. And that's where you got to be very careful, because it's usually when everybody rushes in, you're getting close to the peak. So I don't think we're at the peak yet, but I'm just giving you the sort of advance on that. And if you haven't got the gold and silver program yet, you can still actually grab that. I finished recording, so I'm going to end the big 90% pre-filming discount any day now. It's going to end. So you can still grab that. But I've started now on the advanced course, which is, I've started scripting it all now. I've already done a few of the interviews, if you're interested. We've got some of the top gold analysts in the world. We've got the CEO of a gold vault, actually two CEOs of Gold Vault, Keith Weiner, expert in gold bonds. We've got an expert in 401k and pensions rollover, how you can do that. Don Duran, expert, top number one expert in the world on picking mining stocks. Kevin Wadsworth, again, number one in the world on technical analysis on gold mining. It goes on and on and on. We've got so much coming in the advanced course. It's going to be a lot of interviews, but there's a lot coming down the line, ladies and gents. The link's in the description below if you want to grab that. Now let's go back to the Patriot missiles here, because this is a really big one, because the US only has 25% of all Patriot missile interceptors needed for the Pentagon's military plans. That is pretty serious. So they're lacking 75%. Low stockpiles for the crucial missile systems have led the Trump admin, they actually paused the weapons transfers to Ukraine just the other day here. And now it's been reversed, of course. But what have they said? The US has only about 25% needed. The stockpile has fallen so low that it raised concern inside the Pentagon that it could jeopardize the US military operations. So I was reading into this in a lot more detail as to why. So what actually happened? Well, a lot of this was because of the defense of Israel over the last month. So they used up a huge amount of their stockpile. And where is it? The US fired. Yeah, here we go. So they fired close to 30 just to intercept the ballistic missiles from Iran at the US base in Qatar. So we talked about that as well. And that was interesting because I thought that could be a massive escalation there. But actually, because that happened live while we were on air, of course. But actually, what happened was Iran did what they did before. They said, look, they actually, reached out to President Trump and said, look, we can't just allow what's happened. We're going to have to do a response so that we can put that on our state media and tell the people, look, we fired missiles at this US base to, retaliation for what they did to us. So apparently President Trump or whoever took the call said, okay, thanks for the heads up. They put all their stuff in position. When those missiles were fired, they were, intercepted, or they didn't hit the base. They sort of hit around it. Just to bear in mind, these are very, very advanced ballistic missiles that were fired. To not hit, they have pinpoint accuracy. It's obvious that it was just a sort of, we've got to do this to save face. So that's why you didn't see that biggest escalation that a lot of people were actually expecting. What else have we got? Okay, so it says that Ukraine is largely unable to directly buy the weapons from defense contractors, and it will take years to fulfill, but Pentagon needs to have its own orders completed first. They're the highest priority customer. Trump's decision to reverse course and allow some defensive munitions to Ukraine appears to have come amid growing frustration with Russian President Putin, for he criticized on Monday for not helping to end the war there. And by the way, you might say, well, how much do these missiles cost, Neil? A single Patriot missile costs $4 million US. $4 million. It is absolutely unheard of. It's such a high amount of money. And even Germany has an issue with China at the moment. Germany's claimed that China actually targeted their military plane with a laser. So I started looking into this because it kept going on and on and on about this laser. And I was thinking, what sort of laser was this? Was this a military laser? Did they try and shoot this plane out the sky? What exactly is going on here? No one seems to know anything about this laser. So I did a bit of research. I looked into this laser, and okay, so here's the accurate information. This was not a weaponized high energy laser designed to destroy aircraft. This was a targeting laser that the militaries use for, painting a target, as it were, finding a distance, measuring a distance. They also say it could have been a dazzling sensor or the optics, or it could have been a signaling laser. So, again, I don't know why Germany's sort of throat is going crazy about this. Germany's going absolutely crazy, like trying to say that, China tried to blow its aircraft out of the air and all this. This is the sort of stuff that China does. You read all of these military reports, and these are the tactics that they use. It's like they go so far, but they don't cross that line. So we're seeing a massive tit for tat with China and Germany at the moment. They're already not on good terms anyway. In fact, if you look at the EU reports on trade, that they want to trade directly with China quite heavily, some of the people that are resisting it is Germany. So Germany doesn't want that to take place. But we'll see. And then, we got to end with the big story of the day. Oops, can't show that, can we? What a surprise that finally we have got a conclusion on the files, haven't we? And the conclusion is there is no client list. There were no big files. I'm amazed. I've got to say, I'm absolutely amazed. I'm very disappointed as well, after they all kept saying the client list is on my table. I've seen the list. I've seen the client list. We're going to release it. We're going to do this. And now all of a sudden there's massive U-turn. Please drop in the comments, and I will read your comments. Why do you think they did this massive U-turn? Why do you think they haven't released the list, or now they're saying there is no list? Even Dan said, oh, no, there's no list and all this other stuff, which I was disappointed by. What do you actually think? Because my thoughts are, I think there is a list. It's very obvious there's a client list, but I think the client list is so big. These people are so big, powerful names that they don't want it released. It would just cause so much damage that they just can't have it released. That is my theory on it, but I'd love to know your theory on it. And apart from that, just a reminder, we're going to close this off any day now. So if you want to get the gold and silver program, highly, highly recommend it. It is so, so important. So important for your sort of own financial knowledge to understand gold and silver. It's not just buy a coin and stick it under your mattress. Okay, there's a lot of other strategies. There's dozens of strategies actually that you can take. But I do highly recommend gold and silver. So if you want to learn about it, go in the description below and you'll see the link, so you can actually go to the information page and learn all about the program, and then just decide if it's right for you. That's the main thing with all of my courses. Go to the information page and look what you think is right for you. Go on my website. I think we've got a quiz starting soon, which will help you to, I don't think I've launched it yet, but you want to go on then, it'll show you and help you to kind of figure out what course is right for you and your circumstances and your family. Because remember, we're all different. Some people have got a lot of money, some people haven't got much money. Some people are about to retire, some people are very young. So it's very individualized for different people, and that's the one thing that you've got to do as well. You've got to make sure your strategy is individual for yourself and tailor-made for yourself. That is the most important thing, ladies and gents, especially in this sort of period that we're going into. Shouldn't be a surprise to anyone, this period that we're going into. Very, very volatile. That's why you're seeing all the equities and you're seeing the different asset classes, and even analysts are shocked or surprised by it, because there is just so much going on. And there's a lot to learn, there really is. But as always, I just want to say thank you for being a subscriber here. I really do appreciate you as subscribers. Usual stuff, leaving a comment, clicking the like button, sharing the videos. I appreciate you so much. And apart from that, thanks a lot. Take care. God bless you. God bless your family. And I'll see you on the next video. Bye for now.